Good morning. The K-12 Subcommittee will come to order. Madam Clerk, you may take the roll.
Got a bill up on our screens. Yeah. I'm happy to vote for Senator Stanley's bill.
While we fix our technical difficulties taking roll, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us in person and online. We ask that you keep your testimony to less than 1 minute and address any comments through me, the chair, and please exercise decorum and respect for our members. First, we will be taking testimony in person in favor, and then we will move to in-person opposed. This will be followed by online to hear in-person testimony in favor and then opposed. For online testimony, please keep comments to less than 1 minute, and please turn on your camera per the rules of the House of Delegates. You can also submit comments using hodspeak.house.virginia.gov. That being said, Madam Clerk, can we take the roll?
It's still non-functional, but I can do a roll.
Okay, well, actually, the committee, until we get our technical difficulties sorted out, the committee will go at ease. Good morning. The K-12 Subcommittee will come back to order. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll for attendance. A quorum is present to conduct our business today. All right. Let's see. First on the docket, let's hear from Senator Rome. You have SB 42.
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Good morning to the Senator from Franklin for all the encouraging words as I walked up here. Good to see y'all. So first up, we have SB 42. This is bill. Originally, it's introduced. This was the same bill y'all passed last year that we put on the governor's desk. And then this time around, it managed to get turned into a Section 1 bill in Senate Finance because that's the way things work on the other side of the hall. You should try it sometime. And so this is what the bill does now. It says the Department of Education shall evaluate the impact of requiring each school board at the end of each school year to pay for the total unpaid school meal balance of the nonprofit food service account for each public elementary and secondary school in the school division resulting from uncollectible school meal debts on student accounts. And conducting the evaluation, the department, in consultation with the school divisions, shall review the total amount of uncollectible school meal debt in public elementary and secondary schools in each school district, aggregate socioeconomic status on children and families with uncollectible school meal debt in each school district, the fiscal impact of school boards paying for the uncollectible school meal debt on local school funds in each school district, current funding sources that school boards use to pay uncollectible school meal debt, and best practices and other strategies employed in localities such as Prince William County to pay uncollectible school meal debt, and then if they report back to you at the end of that. So the situation was we were seeing in Prince William where we have 100 schools. 69 of them are enrolled in CEP after we passed my bill 5113 during the 2020 special session. Whole point of that was to eliminate school meal debt for every school that is eligible for the community eligibility provision. Then what happened is we still had another 31 schools. And we were still seeing, in some of the high schools case, tens of thousands of dollars of school meal debt at the end of a school year. And so what we wanted to do is basically reassign that school meal debt at the end of the year back to the school division as opposed to the individual school. Why do that? Individual school has a much more limited budget in order to deal with that, but they are still responsible for it. So tens of thousands of dollars coming out of an individual school budget, that's big money. That's real deal stuff. Assigning it back to, in Prince William County's case, $1 billion school division, they can absorb that much, much easier than the individual school could. So what Prince William County has started to do is exactly that, reassigning that school meal debt at the end of the school year. That does not mean that they do not collect on school meal debt throughout the year. They still do. We passed a bill in 2020 saying that they do, and that they, as long as they use governmental agencies to do that as opposed to third-party debt collectors. So, Madam Chair, that's the bill. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? All right, we will take some testimony today. Do we have anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
Dot Walton with the Virginia Education Association. Just want to say that proper nutrition is foundational to learning, directly affecting cognitive function, memory, focus, and behavior. So so a kid doesn't have to incur the debt, and having somebody else do that is good. So we support this bill.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition? Hearing none, we are back to the committee. It's been moved and properly seconded to report the bill. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. You may close the roll. That bill reports 8-2.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. I see we have Senator Favola. You have SB 39.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Good morning, members of the committee. SB 39 is a Section 1 bill, and what it does is it directs the Department of Education to convene a work group with the relevant stakeholders, so that would include school divisions, counselors, also representatives from the technology industry, to really evaluate the benefits or the drawbacks as well of the programs that are out there, technology programs that are currently on the market, being marketed to school systems that advertise their ability to identify students who may be at risk of harm to themselves or others, or certainly in need of counseling. So these products are out there. School systems certainly can, contract with a provider, get the technology system embedded into the tablets that they give to their students. So they can do that now. Some systems have done it, but many more systems want information. They want to know, should we do this? How do we do it? What issues are related to maybe privacy for the student? Of course, the systems that are doing it have received parental permission. But then there's also follow-up. If in fact there's a flag on one of the iPads or tablets that a student has that the school system issued, there's a flag that may suggest the student needs help. What are the next steps? How quickly should that happen? Et cetera, et cetera. So it's a section, like I said, it's a Section 1 bill. We're trying to stay ahead, I think it was your words, Madam Chair, of sort of the different products that are out there that are actually being marketed to our school systems. A report would come back to the Senate Committee on Education and Health and the House Committee on Education.
Thank you.
November 15th. So I hope it's the will of the body to adopt the bill.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? I thought that was a pretty good explanation of what's happening with this technology, these products that are being offered to school systems. Delegate Cousins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have just for informational purposes, so is this technology already being used in school systems? Okay. So this would just sort of like standardize or...
Some school systems have used it, but many have not because they're raising questions. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right. Moving now to testimony. Do we have anyone who would like to testify in favor of this bill?
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. This bill just gives an opportunity to use best practice technology in a positive way to help prevent students from harming themselves and others. The DEA supports this bill.
Thank you.
Chris Bailey on behalf of the Virginia School Counselors Association. We strongly support the bill and appreciate the patron bringing it forward. Thank you.
Chris Dovey. I'm a co-founder of Code VA, and I support the bill, but I would like to suggest also, just to make sure, because it's not clear to me yet, I was asking back there, whether it also includes software in addition to hardware. This is an issue that's come up in other states and here as well around software safety and security. So it's just a thought on it. If it's not handled here, handling it at a future time would be a great idea.
Thank you. Actually, I will ask Council, is this bill going to cover software as well as hardware?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the work group certainly could look at both. The patron has used the term technology tools. I think that could cover a broad range.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are back before the committee. Do we have any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Delegate Askew.
I'd like to make a motion when appropriate.
Go right ahead.
Madam Chair, I'd like to refer SB 39 to appropriation.
Second. All right, it's been motion to report and refer to appropriations. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. Okay, that bill reports on a vote of 11-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, thank you. The committee will go at ease. We'll come back to order. Senator Head, you have two bills before us. Why don't we start with a brief description of SB 245?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. SB 245 is a much simpler version than it was when it was introduced. And I also, Madam Chair, we have a line amendment, I believe, that Council.
Move the amendment.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Council, can you describe the line amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two amendments, one purely technical, fixing a drafting error in the title, and then the second one is just inserting a clarifying sentence on line 17 after activities, that nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit the use of school division approved communication or messaging applications.
Okay.
So to frame what this is about, we've received a lot of, I think a lot of us have received comments from parents and concerned folks that there are certain extracurricular groups at school that were using social media as the exclusive method for communication with students and parents, and it caused some problems if there was a practice that was rescheduled or something, and parent is at work, they don't get the notification because they're not allowed to have social media. They could get texting, but they couldn't get social media. They didn't know. So it's been a problem, and it's happened a lot of places. And so this just says you can't make that your exclusive method of communication unless there is some really compelling reason and the school division does it, and they give clear indications of how they're going to do it and how you get to this so that everybody can weigh in on that. The amendment is there just to clarify that this does not prohibit school divisions from using specific apps that are designed specifically for the purpose of communicating through texting, because I think there are 2 or 3 apps. My kids are, I'm way past that, so I don't know how that works in today's world, but I understand that there are ways to communicate that way that are approved, and we don't want to get in the way of that, and they just wanted to have that clarification. The Superintendent's Association had asked for that, so that is the bill, fairly simple and straightforward.
Thank you. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone opposed? Anyone online? All right, no one online. Well, I do understand the problem that we're trying to solve here. Seems pretty straightforward. The committee operates by motion.
Move to report as amended.
It's been moved to report and properly second to report this bill as amendment. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. Okay, you may close the roll. That bill reports 9-1.
Okay.
And you have one other bill before us,
We do.
SB 724.
724. Yes, Madam Chair, what this bill seeks to do is to say that if a school division changes the methodology, or if the school division, if the Board of Education changes the graduation requirements after somebody has started 9th grade, that you can't change what it's going to take to get a diploma in midstream unless the student wants to. If it's beneficial for the change, they can elect to do that, but otherwise you're going to stick with those requirements to get the diploma after you've started down the path. So fairly straightforward, and that is the extent of the bill.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? All right, Delegate Cousins.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think this appears to be, if I'm not mistaken, similar to HB 1283. So yes. What are there differences between the two? And if so, what are they?
We will ask the patron. I believe there were some changes made in the Senate.
There were some changes made in the Senate. The basic changes was it was fairly complex when it was introduced and the way it was initially drafted. And when we came through committee, Senator Van Valkenburg looked at it and said, initially his thought was, I think we ought to be able to get this down to like a 1-sentence bill because it was really complicated. And we worked with council to really streamline it to accomplish the same thing with a lot less verbiage, and it's just clearer. That's why we're where we are now.
And I have spoken with Delegate McLaughlin, and she does acknowledge that this is a simpler version and has asked to not lay hers on top of your bill and just to work with your bill.
I imagine we'll be taking the opposite action when hers gets in front of our committee.
Okay.
So
Do we have any other discussion from members of the committee? Do we have anyone in person who would like to testify in favor of the bill?
Madam Chair, Tom Smith with Superintendent Association. We're in support of the bill. In fact, we've even given this opinion to the state board itself as it has moved this year to change requirements for things like cut scores. So we're appreciating the patron bringing it forward.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Chris Bailey on behalf of the Association for Career and Technical Education. We strongly support the bill and greatly appreciate the patron working with us and the committees to get the language right, and appreciate this issue being addressed. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Chad Stewart with the Virginia Education Association. I would associate my comments with Tom here. We've given this comment several times to the Board of Education before. We think this is common sense reform to ensure that kids can know what to expect and where the bar is for graduation. We support the bill.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, moving online. We have no online testimony. Now we're back before the committee. The committee operates by motion.
Move to report.
Okay, it's been moved to report and properly seconded. Do you have any amendments or anything? Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. Okay, you may close the roll. That bill reports 10-0. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Senator Salim.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the committee.
Good morning. SB 63. Tell us about your bill.
Yep. So I have Senate Bill 63, which is a similar bill to your Senate Bill 595. And in this bill, it's simply to ensure that the required courses that have been put in the Code of Virginia over the years are not at hindrance to students who transfer to Virginia high school pathway through completion of International Baccalaureate Diploma. This is simply to ensure that students who have or are pursuing an IB diploma can also get the Virginia Advanced Diploma. The only key difference that the Senate made was on line 174. We originally had during or after the 10th grade, and the Senate Subcommittee has changed that to say after the 10th grade. So I was actually looking through, that was the key difference. And so this would apply to those after the 10th grade. The Board of Education can also approve alternative courses to satisfy the requirements in it, as well as the board also gets the approval which IB courses sequence satisfies the state requirement. So at the current moment, it is very identical except for the words on line 174.
Senator, I think there is a difference as well on line 222. There's an enactment clause at the end of your bill. Is that correct?
From what I see, yes, and I can also refer to council for confirmation.
Council?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, that is correct. So the difference that the senator explained, and also the addition of that enactment clause in his bill, are the two differences.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from members of the committee? Let's go to testimony. Do we have anyone who would like to testify in favor of the bill?
Madam Chair, Tom Smith with the Superintendent's Association. We have a piece in our legislative priorities this year about IB diploma. As I mentioned when we spoke in favor of your bill, this whole idea we feel is good for students, and would like to see it move forward.
Thank you.
Good morning, Pat Finneran representing Newport News Public Schools and Falls Church Public Schools. Again, I spoke in favor of this bill when it was heard, your bill was heard, and I also want to support Senator Selene's bill. We think this is really just a common sense measure to help support students who have begun their studies possibly overseas with the State Department or through the military, and when they come back to the United States to complete that I-to-B degree, they're afforded some flexibility because they've already begun the process. So thank you very much, Senator and Chair Simons. Thank you.
Good morning, Joseph Boliva with VML. Our policy committee developed a statement about this issue, so we're in support of this bill. Thank you.
Dot Walton with the Virginia Education Association. For all the reasons stated prior to this, we support this bill.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Moving online, we do not have any testimony online, so now we are back before the committee. Delegate Askew.
Madam Chair, I move to report.
It's been moved and properly seconded to report the bill. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. Okay, that bill passes 10-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, Senator Stanley. Let's start with the STEM C situation.
Yes, Madam Chair. Good morning. Senate Bill 105 before you right now expands on a program which we developed. I carried a bill about 6 years ago. It was inspired by some students that were in robotics in Henrico County, the Blue Cheese group, as I like to call them. I have a blue cheese hat, which I am forced to wear at least on one occasion during the session. Messes up my hair, but that's okay. So they came to me and they wanted to help because there were a lot of schools, even in my area, like the city of Martinsville, who did not or could not have a STEM robotics team because they couldn't afford it. So what we did was we established a fund program which allowed for those children, those schools in underserved and underprivileged areas to be able to start their own robotics team. What we found, though, and I made, of course, the students advocate for the bill, and they've been really good every year. I hope everybody goes up when they have STEM Day because they're truly inspirational young men and women. But what they came to me this year is what they were saying was that the teams that would start up had kind of a one-year shelf life because then how did they get the funding? In more affluent areas, of course, there's fundraising, there's parental help, there's money perhaps in the local budget, but these schools were there once and then really couldn't sustain the program. So what this does is it expands the program to develop criteria, and that the board develops criteria that not only establishes who might be eligible, but also for a continuing grant as well, so they can continue to support an existing STEM C robotics program in those schools. And I'm so proud, especially you, Madam Chair, and what you've done in robotics. You remember we pushed for making it considered a sport by VHSL. And now they have letter jackets, and it's just, and as I always said, and you and I, Madam Chair, talked about this, you know, I played baseball in high school, and there was no chance I was going to go professional, but every single one of these students can go pro when they engage in these competitions in their future life and their future careers, and it really helps us in the tech talent pipeline. So that's the bill, Madam Chair, and as you can tell, I'm excited. I love it. So
Thank you. Yes, I am a former robotics mom, so this is a bill close to my heart. Do we have any questions from members of the committee? Okay, so we are going to move to testimony. We have, there's been a flag around this bill, the parameters, and actually the operation of I think the intent is to expand opportunities here, but there have been some questions. So I would like to ask our representative from the Department of Education to come and talk about any possible questions on whether we're expanding the qualifiers or if we're narrowing them.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm Melissa Velasquez from the Department of Education. There was a question that was raised with us just yesterday. This bill does seem to cover applicants in two classes, the new competition teams and the existing competition teams that were established outside of or prior to applying to the grant program. It seems to, and it's probably not intentional, but it seems to exclude competition teams that were established through prior participation in the grant program. And we do think the intent is to expand to make sure the most opportunity is out there. So the support of an existing STEM C competition team that was established outside or prior to, perhaps it could also be added that the support of an existing STEM C competition team that was prior to the grant.
Thank you.
I just think it's more opportunity to expand it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that feedback. All right, so now we're going to go to testimony. So if I could have those in favor of the bill, come on forward.
I'm Chris Dovey, and I am a co-founder of Code VA and also a former member of the Virginia STEM Advisory Board. I'd like to say I think this is a wonderful bill. It does something that I've long thought was an issue with robotics programs is they're very expensive, and for teams to continue after a year one, what is available is a lot of teams, there's a rookie grant that's available. After that, there isn't that grant available, and the inequity that is, I guess, unintentionally injected into these programs is pretty significant because of that. So this really helps a lot with the opportunity that teams have to continue to participate. So we love to see this bill happen.
Thank you. And if you could stay up here, we might need you in a minute. All right, go right ahead.
Chad Stewart with the Virginia Education Association. Out of many of the enrichment programs that our legislative committee reviewed, this is one of the ones that we consistently support and see a lot of value in for students, and there's obviously high barriers to entry for many students. This is an equity bill, and we support it.
Can somebody get a picture?
You get one each session.
All right. Senator, I really like this bill, and
thank you.
I feel that we need more active proponents and almost boosters for these competitions. And because we've heard from the Department of Education about wanting more clarification on qualifiers for these grants, I have a friendly amendment for you.
Okay.
I'm proposing that we send this bill to the STEM Education Advisory Board for two reasons. One is I think they can help develop the list of qualifiers, qualifying programs, and maybe help with the language. And the second is I just want them to be working with you and make sure they're aware of these grants and make sure that we can get the word out through the STEM Advisory Board, which I understand has been meeting. So how do you feel about that amendment?
Madam Chair, if you're asking that it be carried over so that they can do the work to make the language better, the only thing I'd be concerned about is we missed 1 year of maybe that team that started up that can't afford to continue. And I would use Martinsville as an example. In their first year, they were able to go to the nationals. But then they ran afoul of financing, so we tried to help them out, privately. But I just don't want to miss that opportunity. 1 year is one junior or senior that may not get this opportunity that could change their lives and career orient them in a way. So I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding you, Madam Chair. But.
What about a Section 1 bill that directs the STEM Advisory Board to do the work of your bill?
Madam Chair, and I really appreciate all your help in all of this. So I will acquiesce to whatever you think is best. I just want I want these kids to be able to really have that experience, not just one year, but every year. And it's not in the affluent areas. It's the underserved, underprivileged, rural and inner city areas that I'm concerned about.
Why don't we, in concept, pass this bill with an amendment to turn it into a Section 1 bill that would go to the STEM Education Advisory Board, and then we will have time, once it goes to full, to make more amendments as needed.
Madam Chair, I'm at the will of the body and certainly the chair.
Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Okay.
So moved, whatever.
It's been moved and properly seconded to amend this bill to make it a Section 1 bill that will ask the STEM Education Advisory Board to create the qualifying guidelines for this grant program. It's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. Okay, that bill reports 9-1.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you. And do you have one more bill?
I do indeed. Madam Chair, Senate Bill 264, which is before you, has gone through a process in the Senate, and certainly we have a substitute that was passed out of the Senate 40-0. But where this comes from, every year we as representatives of the people we serve get phone calls, and parents have called more than once who have autistic children, neurodivergent children, and that what was happening was the fragility of the child, at least in the sense of social skills and those kind of things, weren't being addressed, and they were subject to bullying. And bullying, I think, especially when I talk to students, when I visit schools and those things, were telling me basically they didn't understand perhaps the being on the spectrum or the neurodivergence that these children were laboring under. And because of that, if you don't understand something, you tend to tease it when you're younger because you yourself are lacking the social skills that even these young men and women are. So what this bill does is basically directs the Department of Education for purposes of addressing and preventing bullying, harassment, and teasing of children with these disabilities, and with the also parallel objective to educate and increase awareness and acceptance of the student body who may not be in the special needs IEP arena or those with disabilities, is to create guidelines for the IEP teams to use in developing IEPs for children with disabilities to address and prevent this bullying and harassment, that shall recommend and consider whether the child has a disability that affects their social skill development or is experiencing and experienced bullying, harassment, and teasing in school. Now, if either of those qualifications is present, then what they do is they will include guidance on certain strategies, services, supports to consider that child in achieving objectives related to addressing and preventing this bullying and harassment. So what do we try to do? And also to develop programs where the schools can have, when I was back in my day, as I tell my children too often, we'd have assemblies to create awareness. That they develop a program where the student body becomes active as a community to make sure that they, one, understand these children with disabilities, what that disability is, but also how to be compassionate and a leader and a friend and a companion for these, so that we're maximizing the student experience through public school, junior high school, for everyone, not just for those that may not be suffering from a mental disability or a disability like a neurodivergent disability or being on the spectrum. So what this does, and it's gone through a lot of iterations, and I think the stakeholders are all in support of this, is we really want to empower these IEP teams ultimately to look at a child and say, because of your social development, you may be subject to bullying in the future. Let's try to address it now. Or they come to them and they say, I'm either being bullied or the parent reports bullying, and they say, let's address it then. And then on top of that, let's educate the rest of the student body so that we can reduce this and perhaps even eliminate it, Madam Chair. That's the bill.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Delegate Cherry.
Madam Chair, a question for council, I believe, was probably where this will land. Bullying defined in the code, harassment defined in the code. Teasing is something I've never seen in the code before. So my concern is that a defined term? Is it possible that we're going to be able to build a program around that? Is it defined so that council?
Madam Chair, I don't believe teasing is defined anywhere in Title 22.1. I think the definition of bullying has a component that says bullying does not include things like teasing. But the term teasing itself is not defined that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would only respond to the gentleman by saying I remember Potter Stewart. He was a Supreme Court justice, and the issue before them was pornography. And someone said, you can't define it. And he said, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. And I think we all know what teasing is. And I would hope that, in this, remember, this is about awareness for the IEP teams. And sometimes teasing doesn't rise to the level of bullying, but it is the precursor to what comes next.
All right. Thank you. Let's go to testimony. Do we have anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Mike Asip with the Virginia Council of Administrators of Special Education. We appreciate how the Senator has amended the bill to bring it forward as students with disabilities, especially those on the autism spectrum and behavioral and emotional disabilities, and those other students with disabilities and intellectual disabilities are 2 to 3 times more vulnerable for bullying and harassment in schools. So we appreciate the bill the way it has evolved, and thank the Senator for patienting it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Stacey Haney, School Board Association. We also support the bill and appreciate the patron making some amendments on the other side.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing? Good morning. My name is Dr. Candace Lucas, and I'm here in support of the bill, definitely. I've written over 1,000 IEPs, audited over 10,000 IEPs, and served on various IEP teams. I have a young lady I'm showing you on the computer. Her name is Haley Skinger. In Powhatan, the father reported bullying over 68 times, and we could not have it addressed in the IEP. They stopped us from doing it. There's a section in the IEP called the Factors for Consideration, and on that page, there are 7 areas. One of those areas specifically speaks to the interactions that the child has with their peers. And so we are in support of this bill. We would just request that in the future there's some type of enforcement for adults who do not allow bullying to be even discussed, because violent schools or persistently dangerous schools, if they get that rating, they get in trouble. So we definitely need some type of enforcement. This child was taken out of school by her doctor. The school division did not honor the doctor's request. She's back at school still being bullied. So we definitely need something to enforce this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. All right, anyone in person opposed? All right, we have no online speakers. Oh, there's one person. All right, Mr. Hank Bostwick.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the subcommittee. I am so glad to hear now that this bill has come back through with new language in its latest iteration that all stakeholders involved are in support of Senator Stanley's bill. We know that teenagers with disabilities are particularly vulnerable to bullying and harassment, facing a 32% higher likelihood of that according to latest research. In 2013, the U.S. Department of Education issued guidance saying that when students with disabilities are the victims or the alleged aggressors in bullying, then an IEP team must be assembled to determine whether or not that bullying or being the victim of bullying has had an impact on that child's right to FAPE. So Senator Stanley's bill is right on track with federal guidance that has yet to be rescinded. The Legal Aid Justice Center, of which I'm a part, and the Youth Justice Program strongly supports
Thank you.
SB 264, and we ask that you pass it. Thank you.
Thank
Report
you.
it out.
Thank you very much. We do have a note that this bill needs, if we act favorably, needs to go up to appropriations. Any other discussion from members of the committee? All right, this committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could I ask the department to come in and weigh in for just a moment? The question is on teasing, and then I have somebody wanting to know more about implementation.
All right. Welcome, Ms. Vasquez.
Madam Chair. Melissa Velasquez, Department of Education.
Madam Chair, the question is on any issues with implementing the word teasing. And then a second question, I'll let the delegate ask her question as well.
Okay, so first, do we have language around teasing that you all use?
Madam Chair, I'm not aware specifically around teasing. We do have resources around bullying, and those resources would be updated. We also provide numerous resources on IEP development to the IEP teams, and the IEP team currently has the ability to consider such things when they're developing a child's IEP. The IEP team and the IEP is developed on a consensus of that team under federal and state law.
Delegate Anderson.
Yeah, just to follow up with the department, I guess my question is, what is changing in this language in regards to your implementation of what you're already doing? And is there any concern about students being kind of singled out based on how the language in this bill is written in the way that we're trying to, I know in essence, help these students, but I just want to make sure we're not having the opposite effect is all I'm asking.
Mrs. Velasquez.
Well, the department would update existing resources under the bill and develop any new resources that are needed to implement the bill, and we can do that. And in terms of singling out students, local school divisions will have to manage the implementation in terms of communicating to their student bodies to make sure students aren't singled out in terms of trying to bring those resources in play in the school division, and how the neurodivergent student concerns are addressed so that other students are aware of that any kind of constant, for lack of a better word, bullying of a child based on certain characteristics is a concern.
Madam Chair, just real quick follow-up. I'm just curious. I think my main concern is what is the difference in what is in this bill's language to what we're currently doing? Because I heard you mention that the IEP already has some explicit directions around bullying and kind of addressing those possible concerns that exist in the school system as it is.
Well, the IEP team already has the ability to address any child's individual needs. That's why it's in an individual program based on that student's disability and the needs of that student in their progression in the public schools. In terms of implementation, it will be just a further clarification and enhancement to resources that we have, or development of additional resources to provide to those teams as they consider how to better serve students.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? I have Delegate Rasool and Delegate Cherry. Yeah. Chair Rasool?
I think that the further clarification is probably good for school districts that are smaller, excuse me, as well. And just too much yelling at the basketball game last night, I guess. I didn't do well enough, I guess. There's too many Stanley T-shirts on. So that probably would be helpful for some folks, but I'm just trying to make sure that the language is right. I'm sure as it continues on, they'll figure that out.
Okay. Delegate Cherry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Speaking to the bill.
Go right ahead.
Absolutely support the concept, support where we're going. I think in a little bit with what we were talking about with the Department of Education, we got wrapped around the IEP process. I think the more important part of this is developing for the rest of the student body around neurodivergence and around the students. I'm still uncomfortable with the word teasing because I think it's ill-defined in what we're trying to do. I think harassment wraps into that. Maybe a friendly amendment down the road, either here or in full, would be to just pull the teasing out because I think harassment covers that and it's more defined in the code. But beyond that, I support the bill, Madam Chair, and think that would probably be a friendly amendment if the senator thought so, and I would offer that.
What say you to that friendly amendment?
Save me. Madam Chair, I say absolutely. We try to encompass everything because what we're trying to do is capture it, even before it occurs, and then educate, as you noted, Delegate Cherry, Madam Chair, is to educate the body and to really change how we think about these things, that we're not creating isolation because this student is subject to bullying, but creating a community that wraps their arms around that student and is educated so that we can have that one educational opportunity be the best educational opportunity possible. But Madam Chair, I'm fully pleased to take out the word teasing.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, we're back before the committee. Do we have a motion and a second? All right, there's a motion and a second to report the bill and refer to appropriations.
Are we going to take teasing out?
That's fine.
I think we'll take the teasing out a little later. Okay. That sounded crazy. So there's a motion to report and refer to appropriations. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. All right, you may close the roll. That bill reports 9-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So, Senator, we will not take up the STEM plus C tomorrow to give us a little time to work on substitute language, and hopefully we can work together on that.
Please, would be honored to do that with you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
And so I will plan on being at full?
Not tomorrow, but next week.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the community.
All right. So we have a few bills from patrons who are not here, who have allowed us to go ahead and conform with their versions of the bill. First up, we have two bills from Senator Pekarsky. The first bill is SB 109. And this bill deals with parental notification, safe storage of prescription drugs, and firearms in the household. Do we have amendments to this bill? No. Okay. We do have... We've spoken with the patron, Senator Pekarsky, and she is fine with us adopting amendments and passing on the bill. So, Madam Council, can you please report the amendments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this would just be on line 55 after prevention, insert comma, and then the words as available, comma, so that the report was requiring some CDC statistics, and this would clarify that if those statistics on firearm prevention aren't available, then they wouldn't have to be included in the parental notification.
Okay, the substitute has been moved and is properly before us. Any commentary from members of the committee? We have heard this bill thoroughly, and it is essentially the same bill. So Moving on back to the committee, any final discussion? Okay, it's been moved to report as substituted and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. Okay, you may close the roll. That bill reports 7-2. We have one other bill from Senator Pekarsky. This bill is SB 685, School Board Policies, Communication and Language Accessibility for Limited English Proficient Parents. This bill we would like to conform to the House version from Delegate Reeser, HB 1279. Do we have any discussion? All right.
Second.
It's been properly motioned and seconded to move the substitute, which is conforming to the House bill. All those in favor?
Madam Chair, point of program 3 inquiry.
Delegate Cherry.
Just as you announced House Bill 1279, it's actually House Bill 1278, and making sure we're making the proper motion.
Oh, okay, 1278, thank you. So, all right, the substitute has been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. Okay, that substitute passes on a vote of 7-2. And then one last patron who was not planning to be here so early in the morning is SB 151, Senator Craig. Senator Craig has a bill regarding programs and courses of instruction, water safety, instruction for elementary school students required. This bill had robust debate in committee, and we did have a House version, which Senator Craig has acquiesced to conform her bill to House Bill 705 from Delegate Hayes. Can I have a motion to conform as substituted? Second. It's been properly moved and seconded. Is that a voice vote first? All those in favor say aye. 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 Okay, now let's pass this bill as substituted. Can I have a motion? So moved. Second. Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Madam Clerk, you may open the roll. Okay, that bill reports with substitute on a vote of 8-1. Madam Clerk, you may close the roll. I believe that completes our agenda this morning. And we will not be having our 4 p.m. meeting today. We will see everyone tomorrow for full Education Committee. Without objection, the committee shall rise.